This is the visitor center at Mono Lake. We are just 13 miles east of Yosemite entrance, and this is one of the unique places in the Sierras or east of the Sierras. Why is it so special? Well, stick around and I will tell you, but more importantly, I will show you. There is a lot of wildlife and also a lot of unique things about the lake itself. Volcanic islands. Pauha, the larger of the two islands, does not look volcanic because its surface is composed of lake bottom sediments. Oh, what about here? Land bridge. You can see a wide expanse between Black Point and Negit Island before the city of Los Angeles began diverting monobasin streams. In 41, nearly 2 miles of water separated Negit from the mainland. And then the water level dropped and bridge was exposed. Let's zoom in on the island. As much as the lake here is interesting, let's go to the south of the lake and let's investigate what it is that is sticking out of the water. I bet it's not just a normal, usual rock. The reserve was established to preserve the spectacular Tufa Towers, which is what we are seeing right now. It's a calcium carbonate spires and knobs formed by interaction of freshwater springs and alkaline lake water. It also protects the lake surface itself as well as the wetlands and other sensitive habitat for 1 to 2 million birds that feed and rest at Mono Lake each year. Mono Lake covers about 65 square miles. It is an ancient lake over 1 million years old, one of the oldest lakes in North America. It has no outlet, and that is the secret to its salinity, because all the salts washed from the Sierras ended up in the lake. And here is something quite unusual. The flies that we can see here are so-called alkali flies, and they carpet the shoreline in late summer, and they provide food for millions of birds and quite wild experience for visitors. Fortunately, they don't care about sweaty, smelly people, and they ignore them. They just erupt when you get close to them and fly away. The alkali flies provide more fat and protein for birds than the brine shrimp. There are many lakes around the world which are salty, and the Dead Sea, which technically is not a sea but a lake, may be the most famous one, but there are quite a few others as well. Open oceans tend to contain about 3.5% of salt. The Dead Sea has a whopping 34% salt content, and Utah's Great Salt Lake, meanwhile, has between 10 and 30%. Mono Lake has about 2.5 times more salt content than open ocean. As I said, there are quite a few salt lakes around the world, but what makes Mono Lake quite unique is the tufas. That's what you see, those rocks sticking out of water but also outside of the body of water. And the reason is that city of LA in the past diverted the waters, fresh waters from the streams going into the lake for its own use, and it started dropping the water level. So eventually they were sued, LA was sued and had to somewhat minimize the amount of fresh water that they are taking. So the lake is not exactly how it used to be, but it's a little bit better because it would have completely dried out probably if LA continued with taking the water out.
Look at this to the left. I'll try to zoom in. It looks like a pretty huge bird of prey is nesting there. And at first sight, I would think that it could be a bald eagle, but they say that ospreys, or as British say, ospreys, nest here. So I really don't know. The bald eagle is bigger, and also I think it has a yellow beak, while the osprey has a black beak, but I cannot see from the distance any characteristics that would help me to determine which kind of bird it is, but I would put my money that it's an osprey, because they say they live around the lake. It's quite an awesome sight, I have to say. Really neat. So what else did I forget to mention? Tufa. Tufa is a variety of limestone formed when carbonate minerals precipitate out of ambient temperature water. And tufa columns are an unusual form of tufa, and they are typically associated with saline lakes. So we can see it here. And it is generally thought that when carbonate rich source waters emerge into alkaline lakes, they form, they grow, and they have also been found in marine settings in Greenland. And tufa deposits form an important habitat for a diverse flora. So the porosity of the deposits creates a wet habitat ideal for various plants. And usually the dominant mineral is calcite. But for us casual visitors, the most, I would say, important or visually important thing is the various forms those tufa columns form. And as I mentioned earlier, the tufa columns grow in the water in the lake. But here around Mono Lake, you can find them on shore, and the reason is because the water levels dropped because of human activity. Mono Lake is also rich in cultural heritage and tells a story of the earliest people, the Kutsadika, who inhabited the region before the first European Americans arrived in 1852 during the gold rush. The name Kutsadika of the local folks who lived here, roughly translated, means fly eaters, and about 200 people spent most of the year at Mono Lake harvesting the kutsavi, or alkali fly pupae, which provided much needed fat and protein for their annual food gathering cycle. So maybe the folks today can take some inspiration from that and all those trends of eating the food, organic food, and food that our ancestors ate. They can incorporate flies into their diet. Wouldn't it be fun? Come to a restaurant and can I have a plate of flies, please? Medium rare. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Mono Lake is certainly a unique place to visit, and thank you for watching. See you next time. Take care. Bye bye.